They just had their business Saturday hours this week. But the year I chaired, that's when we started our 500 campaign. I know, I finally got to see it. Yeah, that was a few years later, though. I made it. We sit there having like a call-a-thon. Calling people, we were running out with rifles, going and getting checks. People were joining.
Yes, I am.
Oh, yeah. What? Oh, yeah. He's, what, over a year now? Oh, a year and a half. He's not bad.
Everybody will stand. Mr. Cusick, lead us in prayer and pledge.
Dear Lord, thank you for the day that you've given us, Lord. We especially lift up Miss Windsor's mom as she's having some troubles, Lord, and went to the hospital today. Be with that family and everything that's involved, Lord, and the physicians as well. Thank you for everything that you do for us. Be with us as we make decisions to lead this district forward for the staff, the students, and everyone involved. We love you and praise you. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Hey, I want to thank everyone for attending tonight's school board meeting. On behalf of the school board, I want to welcome everyone here. We appreciate the time each one of you have taken to be here. If you wish to speak on an item listed on tonight's agenda, make sure that you've signed in. We got it over here at the podium if you'll sign in. In a few minutes, we will come to a place on the agenda for everyone who wishes to address the board about any matter listed on the agenda. During this time, anyone who has signed in may address the board. After your name is called, you may come up to the podium. Thank you. All right, moving on to approval of agendas.
I make a motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Newman, second Ms. Harvey. Any discussion?
I'd like to make an adjustment if we can before we approve the whole agenda. So I guess I'd like to make a motion to take out item under consent agenda B, first item. Can we have that separate from the original coaching approvals?
I'll make a second.
Got a motion and a second to vote individually on Greenback football coach.
Correct.
Any discussion on that? Motion by Mr. Cusick, second by Mr. Presley. All right. Any discussion on the other? All right, we'll go vote on to pull this out first. You'll roll call that, please.
Mr. Newman?
No.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Moffitt?
No.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Ridings?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
No.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
Okay. We'll make that, we'll move that up, make that B. And then, let's see. Actually, we'll make that C because it'll be by itself. Okay? Everybody good with that? Alright. Got a motion and a second, approval of agenda with changes. Roll call, please.
Ms. Barber,
Yes.
Mr. Moffett,
No.
Ms. Bridges,
Yes.
Mr. Riding,
No.
Mr. Johnson,
Yes.
Ms. Browder,
Yes.
Ms. Harvey,
Yes.
Mr. Cusick,
Yes.
Mr. Presley,
Yes.
Mr. Newman.
No.
Alright, moving on. Miss Ivy Blair from Greenback School, good to have you tonight.
The Greenback Coastal chapter had a successful trip to the State Leadership Conference in Knoxville with 3 high school students advancing to the international level in Dallas this summer. The Greenback FFA chapter recently competed at the Tennessee FFA Convention in Gatlinburg at the end of March and was awarded with the Superior Chapter Award in recognition of their active and outstanding achievement. 3 members received the high honor of their Tennessee State degree. FFA is also beginning a spring plant sale starting May 15th to be sold at the greenhouse on school campus. Greenback's FBLA Club is also sponsoring a Zimbabwe mission project by collecting money to purchase supplies for 5 food buckets. The collection will be sent to the Methodist Holston Conference to be sent out. As far as spring sports go, the high school boys soccer game has just started. They've won one of their district games so far. The Greenback baseball team has kicked off their season and are 4-0 in district games. Greenback softball team has put a lot of work in this season, winning 5 games so far. State testing begins this month and continues into early May. Students are wrapping up in preparation for their EOC exams. Additional courses such as the dual credit and online AP classes, which are new this year, will also take place around this time. Final exams will wrap up the school year May 17th through the 18th. Prom will be held Saturday, May 6th at the Hilton at McGee Tyson Airport. Juniors and seniors are very excited to get dressed up and have a good time. And graduation will be held at Greenback School this year, May 12th, 7 p.m.
Hey, thank you, Miss Blair. Thanks for coming. Mr. James Ross is at an academic, program at the high school, could not make it tonight. All right, moving on to recognize any visitors. I'll call your name out. If you'll come up, if you'll state your name for the record and address all questions to the board, and please be respectful. Avoid using any profanity or any appropriate conduct, okay? Mr. Chipper Ramsey, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Come to the podium, sir.
Here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Sam. I want to thank the board for the opportunity to be here and be glad to speak to you. I am concerned about the Greenback coaching assignment. I think the committee did their job. And I'm speaking just for me, but I'm ecstatic because of who we got. I think we got a good coach. And maybe a little bit prejudiced because we just came through some tough times, folks. And it was bad. We had kids throwing up and cramping up in the first quarter because they weren't in shape. So I want to thank the committee for the work you did. I think you did a good job, and I appreciate it. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Ramsey.
Thank you.
All right. Moving on, Charles Birchfield. You'll come to the podium, sir.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to stand here once again. My name is Charles Birchfield. We'll move this back just a little bit. I'm also here to talk about the coaching hire for Greenback for their football coach. And I have some questions that hopefully we can get answered tonight. Mr. Garrett, my first question would be for you. I emailed you probably Thursday late evening, is that correct, about requesting Mr. Brookshire to be present this evening?
Yes.
And you got that email. You did return one that said that. You care to remind us what you said? You care to remind us what your email?
Did you get the email? Tell us what the email said. Do share.
It was in the regards of said that I guess you were not going to require Mr. Brookshire to be present this evening, is that correct?
That's correct.
Why is that?
Because this is a meeting for the board. community members like yourself can address the board, and they're always open for that. You can contact Mr. Brookshire at the school to ask him any questions that you have, and there's no need to turn this into a semi-trial by asking questions of my staff when this is intended to be a board meeting for the board to conduct business.
The football coach is on the agenda for tonight, right, for discussion?
Yes,
Hiring of the football
for the
coach?
board.
For the board.
Yes, sir.
So last week, we had direct questions about the hiring process and things that were said and done with the search committee that you, Mr. Guerin, couldn't answer for Mr. Brookshire, is that correct?
Let me ask you this, did you get a hold of Mr. Guerin for that meeting that you were gonna set up?
What does that have to do with anything?
Answer the question, just like you said, did you, and you could have got these questions
Listen.
answered. No, sir.
Is this my time to speak?
This is our, no, this is, no, sir,
No,
listen,
it's
no,
my time to
thank
speak.
you, no, sir, this is our meeting. I asked you a question, did you or did you not ask to meet with Mr. Guerin?
I did.
Did you set the meeting, sir?
I have not yet. I'm reading
Okay,
the process of
you'll get all
rescheduling, but
those
it's not to
questions,
do.
you'll get all those questions answered.
But what I'm
And
telling
maybe
you
even
is
Mr. Brookshire might come to that meeting if you
Right.
talk to Mr. Guerin.
that this is two separate issues.
No, it's not. No,
Yes,
it's
it
not.
is.
No.
How do you, this is my mind we're talking
You would,
about, right?
yeah, you would
Now, I'm
have
telling
your,
you, there's two separate
you
issues
would have had
at
your
hand. One is
questions
administration,
No.
and one is the football hire.
You're
And
right.
I'm talking about the football hire.
and
Which is what's on the
they
agenda
work for
tonight.
him. Mr. Brookshire.
I
works for
understand
him.
that. So,
All right, move
so
on.
how are we gonna find answers
Move on.
out to the search committee, which is
You
relevant
should have set your
tonight?
meeting up with him. You had your
I
opportunity.
want the meeting to be here for the community to hear.
This is us.
I understand
He's
that.
employee. He's our employee.
I
Now
understand
ask
that.
us the questions.
Okay, Mr. Guerin, the process of hiring a football coach, how did that start out for the search committee?
There was a committee established.
Okay, who was in charge of the search committee?
I'm the director of schools. I got with Mr. Brookshire and we set up the committee. And as I said at the workshop, we didn't have to set up a committee. We did that to try to get some community involvement.
Okay, with that community involvement, you selected 3 people that would represent the community, is that correct? Mr. Brookshire did?
There were 2 community representatives, the school board representative for the community, the athletic director for the school, the athletic director for the county, and the principal.
Okay, and Mr. Moffitt, if I can switch over to you, sir. When you were selected, I guess, for part of this committee? Yeah. Okay. Did you approach Mr. Brookshire, and Mr. Brookshire approach you when you were asked to be on the committee?
No, he just asked me to be on the committee.
He asked you to be on the committee? Mr. Moffitt, what experience do you have that's relevant to being on that committee with football?
I'm just like you. I'm just a parent, just a Greenback community member. Just happen to be a school board member.
I understand that, but we're talking about hiring a football coach. So what relevance of your history or your background makes you a good candidate for a search committee for a football coach?
You just answered it. You're a school board member.
Mr. Moffitt?
I'm a school board member.
Okay, so just a school board member?
Same thing. What gives you the relevant right to come up here and ask there? Because you're a parent, right?
Absolutely.
Well, he's a school board member. What would be the difference?
Are you angry?
No, are you? I'm not angry.
Well,
I'm not
you're
angry.
being pretty hostile.
No, I'm not. I listened to the last board meeting. You asked the same questions. Did you not remember when you were at the last board meeting?
I have a pretty good memory.
Well, obviously you forgot because you're asking the same
Sir, listen, you're escalating the situation. This is not personal.
No, go ahead, answer. Just ask any question you want.
Will you stay quiet while I'm talking to Mr. Moffitt?
Am I not?
See, this is the problem that we have. If everybody's seen this real clear, this is the problem that we have, is people like you
No, the problem that we have is people like you, sir.
that stand up for our kids.
Yeah. I've done a lot of stuff for Greenback, so before, I listened to that about y'all being, somebody said redheaded stepchild, I don't
Yeah.
think so. I fought for 8 years to get school over there.
Yeah.
I helped get the baseball done, I helped get the name training facilities done.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm all about Greenback.
Let's switch to you then. Let me ask you a question. You're opposed, say, if you're on a search committee
Yeah.
for a football coach.
Yeah.
You've got one candidate that has served as an assistant coach. never been a head coach, he's unproven, correct?
I guess, I don't know Tommy Clemmer any more than I know Greg.
Listen, you jumped in this conversation, so just stick,
Come on, let's go with
okay.
it. How do head coaches
Well,
become,
hold on just a minute,
From being
hold on just a
assistant.
minute, hold on just a minute.
go ahead.
So you have one that's never been a head coach, okay? And then you've got one that has made 4 state championship appearances, 4, and won one of them. Made another appearance, the 4th one, after he won the state championship. So what you're telling me is, Mr. Johnson, that if you're gonna pick a coach, you're gonna pick somebody that's never been a head coach and unproven over somebody that has been there at that particular school, grew up in that community, loves the community, that has been proven, and you're gonna pick another guy that's not ever been a head coach over that guy. Is that what you're saying?
Through the process, they picked 2 good ones to start with.
Yeah, the first one, I'm glad you brought that up. I speak loud, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to boom these speakers. But that first vote, and you know, what's ironic is this. In the first vote, you had Mr. Brookshire, who voted Frost and Rail. You had Mr. Moffitt, you remember who you voted for the first round, Mr. Moffitt? Frost and Rail, right? This is gonna surprise you. Matthew Tinker, Frost and Rail. Miss Spafford, which I see is not here either, upon my request her being here, but voted Frost and Rail. Let's consider this. Mr. Jimmy Stennett, and especially Mr. Ryan Hanley. I would go out on a limb and say they're probably, Mr. Hanley, who's had 2 star athletes as children go through Greenback School, who has coached on that championship team, who is very knowledgeable of football. Y'all asked him to be on the search committee, I would imagine, for his knowledge of football. Would that be correct? Mr. Garen? I'm sure it's a question for Mr. Brookshire, but he's not here, so I'm going to try to kick it to you. Does that make sense?
He's involved with the football program and part of the community, yeah.
Okay. So upon that, when y'all looked at Mr. Hanley in those meetings, he made the recommendation for Mr. Greg Ryan. Would that be fair to say, Mr. Moffitt?
I don't know how Brian voted.
You don't know how Brian voted? Well, let me tell you. Mr. Hanley voted for Mr. Ryan, and then Mr. Frost second. You were not aware of who he voted for?
No, I didn't look at the other people's vote.
So anytime during that discussion that y'all met with the search committee, you're telling me that Ryan Hanley never discussed Greg Ryan?
Just when Greg Ryan was interviewed.
Okay, what did Mr. Hanley say about Greg Ryan?
I don't recall.
You don't recall?
Not verbatim, no.
Well, summarize it. What was Mr. Hanley's opinion during some of those
He's a
meetings?
good football coach.
That Mr. Ryan was a good football coach? Does this surprise you that Mr. Hanley voted for him, number one? Do you think your football knowledge is much more than Mr. Hanley's?
No.
Would it be fair to say that he's probably smarter at football than maybe yourself?
Mr. Birchfield, sir,
Would that be?
sir, hold on one second. Please get to what you're getting at. Let's get to the point, please.
Would it be safe to say that Mr. Hanley has a lot of football knowledge?
Yeah.
So when Mr. Hanley voted for Mr. Ryan not once, but twice, and a third time, right, instead of Mr. Clemmer, do you not think somebody that's had 2 boys go through the school, has coached with Mr. Ryan, do you not think that opinion really holds a lot of water and a lot of weight when it comes to picking a football coach?
That's his vote. I voted the way I voted.
When you voted the first time, who did you vote for? You voted for
Mr. Birchfield,
Mr. Frost?
Mr. Birchfield,
What are some questions that you
Mr.
asked Mr.
Birchfield.
Frost? Yes, sir.
hold on. get to the point. Look,
I'll
it's
get
his
to the point.
opinion to vote for whoever he wants.
He was on the search committee, sir. I'm asking about the
He
process
can vote
of
forever.
it.
He can't answer for the other guy. That ain't fair.
For which other guy?
The one you just named. He can't answer for him. He didn't.
He can't answer what he said in the meetings?
He can't. No, don't twist it.
I'm not twisting it.
Don't twist it. What I'm telling, no,
What led you
no,
to vote for
hey,
Mr. Frost?
sir, get to the point.
I'm getting to the point, I'm asking a
Look,
question. What
look,
led
if
you to vote for Mr.
hey,
Frost?
if you don't get to the point, you're fixing to be done. That's
What led
my-
you to, it was, listen, was this your scheme the whole night?
I don't have a scheme.
I'm being very polite.
Scheme.
I'm not using foul language.
I want you
I'm
to
meeting
listen.
all the things
I
that
want
you
you
said
to-
before the
I
meeting,
know,
Mr. Garrett.
but-
I'm not being rude.
Stop. Listen.
I'm asking questions.
Hold on.
The,
He can't answer for the other guys. All I'm
I
saying.
understand, and I heard you,
One
let
more
me
aspect.
redirect it.
Mr. Chairman, may I speak?
Yes, sir.
The way they vote is public record, you've got that.
Yes.
Why they voted that way is their personal conviction. They don't have to share that if they don't want to.
Well, what I'm getting at though, Mr. Garrett, is I feel like with these votes from the same folks, voting the same way, for the same people, and it wasn't the way of the community. It wasn't the majority of the community. The majority of the community wanted Greg Ryan. And, you know, I'm just trying to figure out what Mr. Moffitt's angle was.
It wasn't a community vote, it was a committee vote.
I understand that. Mr. Moffitt, what led you to vote for Mr. Frost?
I thought he was a very good candidate. I liked his experience.
Yeah. Can I ask you about Mr. Clemmer on this last time you voted for him, correct?
The last vote, yes.
Yeah, did you
Every
ever,
time I voted for Mr. Clemmer.
correct, did you ever consider Mr. Ryan?
That's my business and not yours. I've got my reasons.
Guys, here's what I think. We vote this coach in, I want you guys to understand. We will support Mr. Clemmer. We will because we care about our kids. This whole fiasco is just that, and we're not going to get anywhere tonight. For number one, we're not allowed to speak. And if it's something that nobody wants to hear, it's very aggressive back toward,
Listen, I listened
toward
to
me.
I listened to your
And
work.
this is nonsense.
And you
You
asked the
know,
same
we
question.
have a right to be heard. You know, we do.
You're speaking.
And we feel like that Greenback is not paid as much attention to when it comes to this. And we feel like that there's been some corruption with this hire. We don't feel like it was fair. We feel like that people voted on a search committee that was hand-selected that would not vote for Greg Ryan particularly. You know, and I do not feel like that's fair. And I'm not a politician. I'm not standing up here, and as I look around and make eye contact with some of you, I can tell you we're on the same page. And this is not right, how this went down. It's not right to tell somebody, allegedly, to vote for somebody, or to get a little clique together in administration and vote a certain way. That's not okay.
Did that happen though? I mean, do you have, Mr. Birchfield, do you know?
In my opinion,
No, I mean, do you know that?
in my opinion, it's opinion, that's what I think happened, yes, sir. It's not factual, I don't know that for fact, I can't prove it.
Why would you say that though?
Well, we're gonna get into what I'm gonna be meeting with Mr. Guerin about in the days to come, which is administration, and I certainly don't wanna get into that right now. But we will, that's what I plan to talk to Mr. Guerin, Mr. Tinker about. But as far as the football hire, I know, unless you've been living under a rock, that most every one of us has heard the controversy with this hire. And nobody's against Mr. Clemmer. Nobody wants to see Mr. Clemmer fail, you know? Scotty, that was mine, your conversation. I called you with some concerns, and I appreciate the respect and the conversation that you gave me on the phone, and I hope that I gave that back to you in return. And I do feel like you care, you know? I don't feel like you selected, in your mind, Mr. Clemmer. I don't agree with you that he's probably number one, but I respect that opinion.
But, and, you know, I didn't have anything to do with that, but
I understand
and I
that.
said in the last meeting that I'm a Tommy Clemmer fan,
Yeah,
and, you know, I thought he should have got the job the last time.
yeah,
You know, Mr. Castile, he done his thing, and I did everything that's the other coach.
sure,
And, you know, and I think you brought up a good valid point about Mr. Hanley.
yeah.
Mr. Hanley, I've coached with him, I coached against him for years, him and, I know Jimmy.
He's tough, isn't he?
Yeah, and And Mr. Hanley, to mine, when he's got time, he's gonna be there coaching, along with his son, with Tommy.
Sure.
So I think that, you know, you hit a good point. Is it who you wanted? I don't think the majority was that way. I disagree with you on that.
Yeah.
Because I've had phone calls, but I'm not gonna call people out
Yeah,
saying that.
we can agree to disagree.
Yeah, right. And so the fact is that you and I have a difference of opinion, the board or the committee has a different opinion than you and some other folks. I seen some folks back there that was mad when Tommy didn't get the job last time.
Sure.
And so, I mean, it's just one of those things that, you know, I guess the committee decided they're gonna give him a shot. And I think he deserves a shot.
Yeah.
And as soon as he, and I can guarantee you this, and from our history, that as soon as he gets over there, if he does something he's not supposed to do, we'll put him on the road.
Yeah.
If that's what somebody's.
Well, if we're talking about who deserves what, and I'll end here, guys, because I don't feel like this is pretty counterproductive at this point to keep beating a dead horse with this, but I will say this, I don't think Tommy Clemmer's a bad coach. I think that he'll do a fine job, but I will tell you this, in my opinion, he's not proven, and he's not the best choice. And when we have somebody sitting there that is proven, who did want the job, who is passionate about Greenback School, and you know, you mentioned your time, Mr. Johnson, about what you've done in the community, and although I've not been involved as long as you have, sir, but when my son came here and I saw his life get better because of Greenback, because of the community, and the success that he had in sports, I was real pleased to be at Greenback. And my whole goal is to have more opportunities for kids like that to want to come here and play ball and learn how to grow in a community that surrounds them with support and love, and that really cares about doing the right thing for them. If you put a kid on the field, and Lisa, you know this, the coach matters. The coach matters. Either they buy into that coach or they do not. With this shenanigans and process that we went through, and in my words and opinion, corruption with how this was voted on, we have set up our football kids for failure, and we should all be ashamed of ourselves for allowing all this to take place instead of focusing on the kids and doing the right thing from the very beginning. And the right thing for them, if they're going to give their heart and soul in football and they're going to buy in, and you know this, we should put the best product on the field. And if you're trying to tell me, and Mr. Moffitt, I hate to keep picking on you, but you're really the only one here that has voted, and nobody else is here, it's just hard for me to believe that anyone could take a coach that has only been an assistant, unproven, over a state championship winning coach and say that's the best product that we could have put on the field. And I think you should be ashamed of yourself and the way that you voted, and I do not support it. And, you know, moving forward in the months to come, I hope to be back speaking again on the agenda with Mr. Guerin and Mr. Tinker about how we can resolve these issues moving forward so this kind of thing never happens again. My passion is my son, which goes to Greenback School, and I love him more than anything, and I want the best for him and all those boys and girls that play sports at Greenback. We owe it to them not to get our personal feelings and what we think should happen, or not hire somebody because of they made us mad when they left last time, or any of those things. It should never be personal. When you're playing a sport, you hire the best coach that you can get. And I think all of us would agree with that we want the best coach, and we had one in Greg Ryan who has proven he loves these kids, loves the school, loves to win, and is capable of doing it. And why we would risk that hiring anybody else, to me, just doesn't seem right. Seems very personal, so that's all I have.
Mr. Birchfield, I'd encourage you to try to get a meeting with Mr. Guerin, Mr. Tinker, and then if you can, even Brookshire, talk with him. I mean, I can't answer the questions that you want, we can't, none of us were on the committee.
I understand that, but again, some of my frustration comes because I want to reach across the line, and I want to have the folks here that were responsible for that, they're paid by taxpayers. I think having them here is not to try to show anybody up, but to get to real answers of how that process went. You have the News Herald, which is here tonight, who has reached out many times to reach Jessica Spafford for comment, which is our athletic director involved in this incident. Have y'all heard from her yet?
Hey, Mr. Burford, you gotta stay over here.
They've not heard.
I don't know, but I will tell you this, though, if you get with Mr. Guerin, maybe he can answer. If he can't, maybe if he says it, because Brookshire works for him, maybe get the question answered. It's like I told Miss Terry, I said, look, when she called, so I got your email. I never received a phone call from you, but I did get your email.
But I'm gonna go back and say, you know, how they voted is public record, but why they voted that way is their own personal conviction, and if they don't wanna share that, so I mean, if that's the question, that question won't ever be answered.
There's just a lot of gray area, and I think they should be responsible to answer for how they voted.
I'm just telling you, that's.
So maybe that's something we need to look into changing. I think that, I think the Greenback parents and community deserve the right to know why you voted the way you did. And if you're qualified. If you're qualified. Can I ask you a question, Mr. Guerin?
Most of the time, though, I mean, we went to the committee, and it's worked up to this point, fine. I mean, it's still working. They come with a recommendation of a coach. In the past, when we had Mr. Vance here, I think he had a hand in the hiring with everything, and it didn't turn out well either. So it's dang if you do, and dang if you do the other way. But if you do it the way that a lot of places do, usually it's the principal that would hire. The bad thing is for Mr. Brookshire is he's brand new. He's like me. I don't know a lot of people over there, and he definitely doesn't. I do think he's a good fit for over there because I've known him for a while. I think that he needs to be given the benefit of the doubt, though, is going in and figuring out who is. He knows football's king over there. He knows that, and he knows how strong your community is. And I've said before, you and Loudon, I'm jealous of because you have such pride in your community.
But don't you think, I mean, I'm gonna surround myself as that chairperson on that committee with people that know football, if you're looking for a football coach.
But with Mr. Brookshire, I don't know, like I say, and I don't know. I don't know if he knows any of those people that's on the committee. I don't know. I really don't.
I just think we should look a little further into that and maybe help him a little better. Mr. Guerin, one last question, I'll be done. If you've got an unproven coach and then you've got a head coach that's been successful and you were hiring for, and you were the principal, which one did you hire? The one unproven or the one that's been proven?
I wasn't in on the interview, so I can't answer that question.
Okay. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good night.
Thank you, Mr. Burchfield. All right, moving on, director's contract.
I make a motion that we accept the director's contract as presented to us at the workshop.
Second.
Got a motion by Mr. Newman, second by Ms. Barber. Director's contract, any discussions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Rodding?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
All right, moving on to consent agenda.
Do we need to take those individually, so as a group?
No, we pulled the
Pulled
football
ours
coach
out,
out.
so
It's
we don't
after
see.
Well,
this.
it's still, all three of those A, B, C items are still
No, we
under the
pulled,
consent agenda.
we pulled the head coach come out, and it'll drop down under that. And
It'll
we
still
vote
go in the
separate.
consent
But
agenda.
that's what I'm saying.
No,
It's still
no, we're gonna
under-
vote on it separate. That's what I'm saying. Go ahead, this is just consent. This out of consent. Clemmer is.
I don't think it is.
You
So you
didn't
put
note
it
that
as
in there, right?
numbers,
Ms.
put
Kaylee?
it as number 6 instead.
Can we not
of
make the motion that we accept the B category,
However,
the consent agenda?
I pulled it out, separate, but out of the consent agenda. It's right above the policy update.
Okay.
So you vote on just A and B, and then Clemmer's out by himself. He's not even part of consent.
5.5, there you go.
Yeah.
I was like,
However you wanna look at it.
5.5,
Because C is still technically under the,
right.
yeah, let's screw that.
All right, this consent and head football coaches, Zach says 5.5. Good with that?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. You got a motion? A Our motion, Mr. Presley,
So moved.
second by Ms. Harvey. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Riding?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
All right, moving on, this will be 5.5, vote on Tommy Clemmer, Greenback High School football coach. It's a paid position.
I'll make a
Make
motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Newman, second by Mr. Moffett. Any discussion?
I have just a couple things to say. The committee's went through this, whether some folks like it or not, that's fine. I don't think this is a really good representation of Greenback. I think the folks that were on the board, for years ago, when we would have issues, when we were trying to build Greenback School, and there was things going on, when there's something goes on that really bothers the whole community, this room's full. This room is full, and there's people here. We've not had one football, and does your son play football?
He's not going to now.
We've not had one kid, one parent that said anything that's a football parent, make contact us and say this is not a good idea. And so I just make the motion that we vote him in there. I mean, I think he's earned the right.
I think we've all
He's
got
passed his background checks and everything else.
phone calls and stuff on it, yes, sir.
I've not received any phone calls whatsoever. I have received one anonymous letter about it. That's it.
It
Anonymous.
didn't state it was a parent, my letter did it. Was it a parent of a football?
No. that
No,
was
mine
just anonymous
didn't.
letter.
Mine was anonymous, but no return.
I would like to say that I feel like your head football coach should be on staff. I know it don't have to be, but I think they should
Well,
be.
we tried. We tried.
I was gonna say, this day and age, a lot of teachers just don't wanna take that responsibility on. They've got other things, family life. I mean, I speak for Bobby. He's a head coach for several athletic teams for the schools, and he's not a staff. So it's just sometimes you can't find that staff teacher anymore to take on that responsibility. It's not that they don't love the kids, but it's just hard anymore these days to find an actual teacher that will take on that responsibility.
I think a lot of us down the road, I said this probably about 10 years ago, a lot of us where it's headed. Nobody wants to fool with it in the school with all the stuff the teachers have to do.
Yeah, it's more taxing on the teachers these days anymore in the school, in the classroom, to take on something extracurricular like that is just so much more harder for them.
But if you can find them, it's good.
Yeah, you've got a gym.
Yeah. Any more discussion? Okay, got a motion and a second for Tommy Clemmer, Greenback High School football head coach. Will you roll call that, please?
Mr. Riding?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
No.
Mr. Presley?
No.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
All right, moving on. Policy update, 6.20 attendance.
I recommend approval as presented at workshop.
I'll make that motion.
Got a motion by Mr. Newman, second by Mr. Cusick. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Riding?
Yes.
All right, moving on to 6.411, student wellness.
Recommend approval as presented at workshop.
Make a motion.
I'll second. She made.
Motion by Ms. Barber,
Second.
second by
Ms. Browder.
Bradley. Try and get it up. Sorry. All right. Roll call, please.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Riding?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes. Budget amendments.
Budget amendments are as presented at the workshop with the additions that I talked about at the workshop. We had the insurance check for the Fort Loudon Middle School dugout that came in. And we seen some additional revenue based upon our physical capacity that we received sorry, that's on the next budget. $700,000 moving from fund balance into the textbook line item so that we could finish purchasing the math textbooks in addition to the ESSER funding that we're using. So I would recommend approval of budget amendments.
So moved.
Motion, Ms. Harvey,
Second.
second by Ms. Moffitt. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Ms. Bridges? Mr. Riding?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
All right, moving on to 23-24 adult student meal prices.
Recommend approval as presented at the workshop.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Newman, second by Ms. Barber. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Riding?
No.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Math book, textbook adoption.
Recommend approval as presented at the workshop.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Ms. Browder, motion, second by Mr. Presley. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Riding?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
All right, North Middle School football request.
I recommend that we approve a $15,000 request to North Middle School Panther football program.
I'll make that motion.
So moved.
Motion by Mr.
Second.
Newman, second by Ms. Harvey. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Riding?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
All right, proposed 23-24 budget.
As presented at the workshop for the budget, we have a revised teacher salary schedule, an increase in $1 per hour for non-certified staff. We've increased our coaching supplements. We've got 4 social workers and 3 school-based coaches that will be absorbed from the ESSER funding, 6 additional teachers that we're going to need this upcoming year, 2 additional SPED parapros, an additional LPN, some additional software, increase for our bus transportation contract, and an athletic transportation contract increase. The only change from the workshop is that after we received our physical capacity since the workshop and have included that in the formula, we're seeing some additional revenue. So we now have a balanced budget, and we put the additional $625,000 into the textbook line item for next year. So I would recommend approval of our proposed budget. I'm not sure that we've ever approved a balanced budget, so
We're still asking for the growth in the pennies.
I'm still asking for the growth on current penny value, yes.
I think the chairman of that committee done a really good job.
Absolutely.
Motion.
Second.
All right, got a motion by Mr. Riding, second. Ms. Kim? Any discussion?
I just want to say that I commend, not necessarily the committee, but Mr. Guerin for moving the teacher salary. You're going to have to do that in order to retain teachers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because every system is going to have to up the game. You can't get teachers at all. So I think that is a step in the right direction. I know that all the teachers of Loudon County will be well pleased.
Why you kissing the committee? We worked hard on that.
I know, but I was on the committee. I don't want to brag
We've
on
worked
it.
hard, we've worked hard to get that done for a lot of years.
Yeah, I just know that they're going to be pleased, but it's something that needed to happen.
Yeah.
And it's needed to happen for a very long time.
Especially just to lose them over the line. So.
Yes,
Right,
yes. So I appreciate that.
Any more discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Riding?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
All right, bus contracts.
I recommend approval of the bus contracts with the increase presented at the workshop.
Make a motion. Second.
Motion by Ms. Barber, second by
Good job.
Ms. Harvey. Any discussion? Roll call.
Mr. Moffett?
Yes.
Ms. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Riding?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Ms. Browder?
Yes.
Ms. Harvey?
Yes.
Mr. Cusick?
Yes.
Mr. Presley?
Yes.
Mr. Newman?
Yes.
Ms. Barber?
Yes.
All right, moving on, director's report.
I just have a couple of things. I want to recognize Ms. Jennifer Malone. She was inducted into the University of Tennessee Knoxville Educator Hall of Fame in these last few weeks, so appreciate her and the work she does for us. Ms. Probst sitting here this evening, but I'd like to recognize Ms. Kathy Probst, who was selected as the Coordinated School Health Assistant for the year for the state of Tennessee. So that's 2 great honors that our staff have received. That's all I have, sir.
All right, any other business deemed necessary by the board or director? Anybody got anything?
I wanna say that I see them sitting back there in the back, and I appreciate the bus drivers. I know where I'm at, you can't get bus drivers, so, I'm sure that's a difficult feat every day, but I appreciate all they do and
Even
hauling our
Beefy?
kids. Even Beefy.
You said something different.
Well, we'll talk about that later.
Motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Presley, second by Mr. Newman. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Hey, stop.
You done a good job, Bob. Done a good job.